Welcome to Global Tax Talk. I'm Giorgia Maffini. I'm here in Madrid with Ed Baghdasarayan. Ed is PwC Operational Transfer Pricing Leader. Welcome, Ed.
Thanks for having me, Giorgia.
Ed, so we are seeing the global transfer pricing environment being very dynamic, maybe more dynamic than ever. And in this context, we are seeing a lot of companies having a fresh look, really, at their transfer pricing processes and the connected risks. Take us through why this is the case, and maybe also what are the expectations of the transfer pricing team at the moment?
Well, Giorgia, you mentioned it perfectly. It's a perfect storm. We are seeing more changes from the in-house transfer pricing function more than ever, and it's actually for a couple of reasons. So, firstly, from an external perspective, there's more and more reporting required from our transfer pricing function, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And there are more stakeholders externally and internally that are interested in transfer pricing international tax. At the same time, tax authorities are getting better understanding data, getting better understanding systems, and they're asking taxpayers to prove that they're doing what they're saying they're doing in their transfer pricing position. And then you bring it back to in-house transfer pricing teams are being asked at the same time to do more with less, add more value to the business, and get up the digital curve. So I think when you look at the industry, we're realizing that we have to do things differently from an in-house transfer pricing execution perspective more and more, and very differently to what we were doing in the past. And something like Pillar 2 and C by C are kind of front of mind that have brought those key catalysts for change as well.
Indeed, Ed. And to remain on Pillar 2, double click on Pillar 2, we have discussed many times the relationship between Pillar 2 and operational transfer pricing. What is this relationship between the two, and why is it important to look at that now?
So operational transfer pricing, just for the benefit of providing that context, is all around the efficient, effective, and accurate calculations and execution of your transfer pricing policy. That's what OTP is. And the links between OTP and Pillar 2 are interesting. So Pillar 2, and I don't have to tell you of all people, it's 240 plus data points. And there are some things that there's a direct link between transfer pricing and Pillar 2. So pre-tax income is the obvious one that everyone talks about. But there are aspects around FX and interest and other data points that transfer pricing can influence that feed into your Pillar 2 calculation. Now, the important thing is when it comes to accurate execution of your operational transfer pricing perspective, there's kind of two reasons why that's important in the context of Pillar 2. The first of which is we need, by the end of the financial year, to have an accurate picture of our transfer pricing position, because that's directly going to feed into the Pillar 2 calculations and the Pillar 2 impact on a country-by-country basis. So that's the first point. The second point is, once again, a lot of companies obviously relying on the qualifying safe harbour, the C by C safe harbour, and therefore, in order to have an accurate C by C report, you need to have your accurate transfer pricing policy as executed, recorded in your financials. And I think we can go as far as saying, if you do not have your transfer pricing or your OTP correctly reflected and executed at the end of the year within your consolidated financial statements, there is a risk that your C by C report may not be qualifying. So they're kind of two things to think about around touch points, but the linkage between transfer pricing and international tax and Pillar 2 has never been more prominent for those reasons.
Final question, what are some no-regret actions that companies should think about now?
What I say no regret actions, in the sense that you have to do these things in advance, is, I say, use three words: plan, anticipate, and communicate. And when I talk about plan, going to the previous question, thinking about what are the linkages in your organization between transfer pricing and Pillar 2. How do you think about data, process, calculation, reporting, and the integration, once again, of your Pillar 2 data points and your transfer pricing data points? And what is the business case required to bring change? Now, once you plan, you have to anticipate. And when I say anticipate, what does your operating model have to look like in the future for you to be compliant? Because this is going to be here forever, as we all know. Do you need buy-in from finance, accounting, and IT stakeholders to bring about change? What's your timeline, and how do you best present this across the organization? And then the third thing is communicate, and communicate early. And in most cases, these kinds of points are not just going to be solved by the in-house transfer pricing team or the tax team. As I mentioned, you're going to need other stakeholders. Socialize the changes that are coming, the impact it's going to have on the business from a compliance perspective, from a reputational perspective, and then bring others along on the journey, because from experience, redesigning your processes to enable accurate operational transfer pricing, which feeds into your Pillar 2, is not something that happens overnight. I wish it was, but it's not. So it's all about how do you get the wheels in motion to bring about changes by the time you have to comply for Pillar 2. So just 3 key things from me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Edwin, for being with us. And thank you for tuning in so you can stay global tax ready.